Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's JA Career Speaker Series. And thank you, Jamara, for offering to be with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to get to talk to everyone.
So I would like to ask you to begin by sharing a bit of your story with us so that the students can get to know you.
Sure. I'm originally from South Carolina, a small town called Winsboro, South Carolina, and I attended the University of South Carolina. I graduated in 2022 with a bachelor's in political science. And shortly after I graduated, I moved to DC and I started the White House internship in the National Economic Council. And it was a great experience. I met a lot of great people, and that allowed me to transition over to NASA in January of 2023. So I've been at NASA now a little over a year, and it's been very fast paced, but a great, amazing experience.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you got to that White House internship, like what the process was? I'm sure our students would be
Mhm,
interested to hear. I know how competitive it is, but what
mhm.
did that process look like for you?
Sure. So I had about three interviews, like on the phone or Zoom call interviews. And before we started our interviews, we all had to write an essay about something we were passionate about. And I wrote about broadband expansion. Again, I'm from a smaller town, so we didn't have much access to broadband and internet, especially during COVID. It was a difficult transition for a lot of people, and I spoke about broadband and developing infrastructure. And NEC called me and they just asked me about some projects that I'm interested in and how do I relate to that personally and professionally. So a lot of overlap in my day to day life and things that the administration was pushing. So extensive, but really they got a good feel of what we were passionate about.
Sure. And what did you do in that role when you served as a White House intern? If you can share a little bit about that,
Sure.
and then we'll transition over to NASA.
Sure. When I was in the National Economic Council, I again did some broadband work with tribal nations. So we collected data and kind of tried to identify different spots throughout the US and tribal nations that were having broadband issues. I also got to participate in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. They had a housing summit. And so I got to participate in that. Some people flew in from all over the country and spoke about affordable housing and what we need to do to mitigate issues that affect small and rural communities. So I really enjoyed that. On a day-to-day basis, I did our White House reports for the National Economic Council. So gathering data from everywhere, from satellites to labor workforce to broadband to climate science. It's a little bit of everything. So I got really familiar with everything in NEC.
And how many White House interns were there in your year?
In our entire, in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, we may have had about a little less than 100. Every office is different. So in National Economic Council, we had 6 interns, and we were divided between all the principals in the National Economic Council. But less than 100 isn't a lot, especially when you spend a lot of time for a lot of months. So we got to know each other really well. And we still keep in contact today.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, did you ever get to meet the president?
We did. We did get to meet the president, and we got to meet the vice president. And when you're in the Eisenhower building, which is the main staff office, you just meet so many people, so many celebrities come through every day, and you get to work with them on a day to day basis. So, definitely a lot of cool people in the White House.
That's amazing. And what inspired you to even pursue a career in political science and also try for that position?
Sure. So when I was in South Carolina, before I started undergrad, I was a page in the South Carolina General Assembly, and I was a Senate page for my senator that represents Fairfield County, Senator Fanning. So I got to be on the floor. I got to go to different committee hearings. I really got to understand the makeup of any General Assembly, and really track a lot of legislation. And I realized quickly that I loved it and I was passionate about it, especially when you can see how it affects your community and you that relates to you personally, it made me fall in love with politics.
Okay, thank you so much. So
Mhm.
now you can share about with us about your current role and the organization for which you work.
Sure. Again, I'm at NASA. So when I first started at NASA, I was special assistant to the chief of staff. So I was in the administrator's office. So the administrator serves as like the head of NASA, and his chief of staff is like his person, the person he goes to. So I supported her. I was there for a year, and I got to go to launches and conferences with them, and a lot of like some state arrivals or some different countries will come to the NASA office. It was an amazing experience in the administrator's office. Beginning of this year, I started in the Office of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs at NASA. So I'm still at NASA, I'm still at headquarters, and I still see everyone in the administrator's office, but I have a lot more engagement on Capitol Hill. And I also, in our intergovernmental portfolio, I engage with state and local elected officials.
I
Um,
believe I saw that you were just presenting at a conference for African American mayors
yeah.
in Georgia,
Yes.
in Atlanta. Was that?
Yeah. I was in Atlanta for the African American Mayors Association conference. And many moons ago, I used to be a African American Mayors Association fellow. So it was very full circle. I got to connect with a lot of mayors and a lot of staff at the White House or in private sector or other agencies. It was an amazing time. So that's a little bit of engagement I get to do on the intergovernmental side.
Sure, I love that. So my next question is what really did inspire you? And I know you touched upon being a page. Maybe
Mhm.
explain a little bit more about what that is too, because I'm not sure that all students
Sure.
may be aware.
Yeah.
But beyond that, were there other experiences you had in high school or in college that really excited you about politics?
Yeah. So a Senate page, they kind of do correspondence between like the people that vote in the district and the elected officials. So occasionally I would take those constituent calls. Again, sometimes I would be on the floor and I'd get to see like filibuster, which was when they talk for a really long time about legislation, or go to different committee hearings. My senator was on the Fish, Game, and Forestry Committee. So I learned a little bit about that. But a mixture of a lot of different things that allows you to be in the state house. And so outside of being a Senate page, I think being in my community, again, I'm from a smaller town. We have one middle school and one high school. So we all knew each other. But being in my community and having a senator that knew our names and knew our faces and came to our school and came to our festivals, really contributed. And I learned quickly that there's a lot of overlap between politics and education and workforce development and economic development. I saw how it affected my community. And I learned that I want to be a part of that.
I love it. I love it. So, can you describe for us a typical day slash week in your role, like what
Sure.
that looks like?
Every day and every week looks different. So last week we had a launch. Boeing had their launch down in Cape Canaveral in Florida. So I didn't go to this launch, but occasionally I'll go down for that launch. Some days I'll go on Capitol Hill. I have South Carolina and Georgia congressional offices. So I'll go there and I'll talk to them and we'll brainstorm about NASA STEM internships and different engagement. Or sometimes I'm on meetings with different mayors. I'm on meetings with different governor staff. It kind of varies, but that's what makes it exciting. It's something new every day, something new to brainstorm and pursue.
So, like, walk us through yesterday. What did yesterday look like in your world?
Okay, yesterday I had it's not gonna sound exciting. Yesterday I had a strategic communications call. So that's all the departments at NASA will give our updates. We have like this new NASA engagement rollout coming out, so we'll kind of brainstorm on that. After that, we have the U.S. Conference of Mayors is coming up. So I've been doing a lot of talking to different mayors in different cities about doing a fireside chat on climate with leadership at NASA. Also, the National Governors Association conference is coming up, so they had an event, and I attended that. Later that day, they gave us the White House Garden Tour is coming up, so I got tickets for the White House Garden Tour. So it's always a lot of fun. I know the administrator has some travel coming up, so we're talking and brainstorming on that. But just a lot of different things every day.
Do you feel that you have the opportunity to also uh, choose things that you want to do or initiatives you
Yeah.
want to expand? Do you have that freedom at this point, or do you usually get directives from others and then you're hoping to get into a position where you have more freedom to do things that you
Yeah.
really are passionate about, as far as, connecting with mayors and like you were
Mhm.
talking about internships?
Yeah.
How much flexibility is there in the role?
Yeah, in my role that I have now, I feel like I have a lot of flexibility.
Mhm.
And so, one of my first thoughts coming into this role, I knew I was going to do the intergovernmental portfolio. And so, I had to think about factors that were outside of just partisanship. Like, we understand partisanship, but what does it look like to engage with groups that focus on different demographics, race, socioeconomic status, class? What does it look like? What does climate educators look like? What does climate legislators like? What factors can we pull together that are outside of just partisanship? And so that's why I was excited to go to the African American Mayors Conference, and many other things to come this year.
I love it. Thank you. So,
Mhm.
what are the most rewarding and challenging aspects of your job?
I'll start with rewarding. I think so far it's been really rewarding to have great mentors in this space. I had an amazing mentor at the White House, and we still talk to this day. She's like my friend, really, but she was great in helping, pushing me along and really opening doors for me. It's always nice having mentors that look like you. Who are willing to support you. So that's definitely been my biggest takeaway so far. Challenges. I'm not sure it's a challenge for me, but it's something I have to constantly remind myself that I have to stay proactive and I have to think about next steps and what moving forward and advancing professionally looks like for me. And I think that creates a type of ambition that it's hard to take, hard to contain sometimes.
Sure. So, can you share with us at this point if there are specific skills or qualities that you feel are essential for success, whether it was when you were working in the White House or
Mhm.
for NASA in general in your political career? Like, what would you say are those skills and qualities that
Sure.
are needed to be successful, or that you also see not just in yourself but in others as well that have allowed them to experience success?
Yeah, I think again, remaining proactive and being intentional and vocal about where you want to be and what you want to do next and what you're interested in. And that kind of segues into my next point that everything pretty much worked out for me, but I just pursued what I love. Like I know that I love politics. It was one point I used to work at a nonprofit that does food insecurity, and I love that. And I spoke about that. So when you do what you love and you really pursue what you're passionate about, everything will fall into place. People will recognize that you're truly invested in the work that you do.
And you have such a wide range or wealth of experience. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so young, but you've
Thank
done so much already. And I
Yeah.
think it's so inspiring. So, my next question is, can you share any memorable career experiences that have had a significant impact on you?
Sure. So before I started at NASA and before I started at the White House, I interned for a judge here in South Carolina. And when I first started, she was being considered for the Supreme Court. And then shortly after that, she got appointed to the DC circuit. But during her Senate hearing prep, I was I was there. We were going through everything. She's very meticulous. She's very thorough. And that definitely contributed to my work ethic now, but it set the foundation for how I navigate professionally now, being meticulous, being intentional. And so that kind of goes back to what you said before. I have so many different experiences that are so different, but
And
it's,
unique.
yeah, but it's like a ball, it's like a collection of different things that shape me now.
How about passion projects for you? If you can share any of those with us, Jamara, I would love to
Sure.
hear your passion project.
Sure. So again, I'm from South Carolina. I love my hometown and I love being from South Carolina. And so oftentimes I think about what can I do, which kind of sounds like an overlap between passion and professional, but I love both. So I'm always thinking about broadband expansion and what that looks like for my state, or tackling food insecurity and what that looks like in my state, or tackling economic development in different areas. So, an array of things that I occasionally write down, but definitely projects that allow me to focus on smaller and rural communities. I come from a family of educators. My dad is a superintendent, so sometimes some of those projects include education, but any issue that affects rural communities, I'm ready to talk about it.
Thank you. And also, we have a question about advice that you would give to students interested in pursuing this path or your path. And
Mhm.
also, does NASA offer internships? I know we spoke about the White House,
Mhm.
but if you can touch upon NASA and if they also offer internships either to high school or college students, or any programs that you're
Mhm.
aware of that students could benefit from.
Sure. I'll start with the second question while it's on my brain. Yeah, NASA has a lot of internships in a lot of different fields. So sometimes it's like engineering. Sometimes we just had an intern in the administrator's office. Sometimes they specify on different engineering. Sometimes it's like aviation and flight. But we have several centers across the US. So our headquarters are in DC, but we have one in Kennedy Space Center in Florida, or Johnson Space Center in Houston. We have Ames in California. We have one in Cleveland. Like, we have a lot of centers that have a lot of internships. So I encourage everyone to apply, and really put yourself out there. And you never know, you might be in California for the summer doing flight aviation.
Is there an age specifically for that? Is it 18 and up or?
Well, no, it's usually high school, so 18 and younger, yeah. And so sometimes we have some college interns, but the bulk of them are high school interns. And I know a little bit younger, but we also have space camp, and a lot of younger students grow up and become 23 years old and remember their time at space camp. So if you're a little younger, I encourage you to go to
Yeah,
space
and
camp.
we have middle school students with
Yeah,
joined us, so that's good for them to know too.
right,
What
yes.
about for the White House internship? That's only college students, correct?
Correct,
Is
yes.
it a certain year in college, or can they apply starting from freshman year?
Well, it's college students, and you have to be perhaps like a year removed from college. So, still, not that far removed from college graduate, but you can be a freshman. I have some friends that intern when they were freshmen, and occasionally they'll come back for a second internship. So, definitely apply. It's an amazing opportunity.
Do you have anything else you would like to share with us?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I'm excited that I get to share a little bit about me and NASA. And I don't necessarily have a science background, but NASA is so cool and is so much information that you just absorb it, and you learn so much. So now I find myself having conversations about space debris and what it looks like to solve space debris out in space, or different missions. Gotten to see a few missions, and hopefully we'll see a crew launch this summer. But it's amazing, and you learn so much about science.
I know, and I think what I was going to say is that, you know, when you say you work for NASA, most people are probably thinking of it
Yeah,
as STEM focused, but
right.
you've brought or opened our eyes to a whole different aspect of working at NASA, right? It's
Yeah,
not
for
just
sure.
about that. It's also about getting the message out of what they're doing and like the politics of it.
Yeah.
That you mentioned. And I think it's fascinating to see for students that, just because we maybe envision a type of job as one thing, that there are
Mhm.
so many other jobs that are incorporated into that particular organization or company. And
Yeah.
it's really helpful for us to, or for students to learn, right?
Yeah. For sure. And that's one thing I definitely try to focus on and flesh out a little bit in my portfolio is we have a heavy STEM focus and we need engineers and we need people in the STEM field, but we also need welders. Like somebody has to put the spaceship together and fleshing out what different occupations at NASA looks like has been really exciting. I have a lot of conversations about agriculture, and we're also a climate agency. So, what does gathering data for farmers look like, or what does providing jobs in these different communities that allow for welders look like, or what does industry relationships where they create a tiny screw for a spaceship looks like? Um, a lot of different conversations that doesn't come to mind when you think of NASA.
Huh? Well, thank you, Jamara, so much for your time. This has been amazing. You've
For sure.
shared so much with us, and
Yes.
we appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who have joined us.
Perfect.